You're listening to the Fantasy Football Podcast with Charles Barr and John Chapman.
Here we go with episode 8. Is this real life? With Chuck B, your host, and Jonathan Chapman, football analyst. John, what's your Twitter handle?
Oh, right off the bat, Twitter handle. JL_Chapman, JL_CHAPMAN. Just tweeted out so that we can let everybody know to come join us as we record episodes live on YouTube. Obviously, we put them up on iTunes as well. But if you want to watch the live unedited version with all the mess ups and us calling each other's names, you got to be on Twitter. You got to follow us on Twitter, and we'll send that out. And also, if you have any questions, that is the place to reach out to us and make sure everything is good. What about you, man? What's your Twitter account?
Mine is host Chuck B. It's pretty simple. Very minimal followers. So it's kind of a rare account to follow, if you will.
Very, very exclusive.
Yeah, very exclusive club. I don't really let a lot of people follow me. So anyways, that's a whole
That is wonderful.
That's another Twitter conversation. But, man, we're in it, dude. Preseason is upon us. Panthers and Texans are going right now. And we've got some preseason fantasy news that matters to fantasy production. And I'm just going to go in on the number one thing. Hold the brakes. Hold the train. Joe Mixon is number 4 on the depth chart. Number 4 on the depth chart.
You know, of all the rookies, he was getting the most hype. And everybody's like, oh, he should be challenging Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey. Well, if you did that, you don't pay attention to history. And the history is this. Marvin Lewis and the freaking Bengals do not trust rookies. Now, does this mean that Joe Mixon isn't going to get a lot of snaps? Absolutely not. But what it does mean is not only is he behind Jeremy Hill, not only is he behind Giovanni Bernard, he's also behind Pierman. That's right, Pierman. So pump the brakes big time on Joe Mixon, and keep in mind their offensive line is terrible.
Yep.
Terrible. So you gotta knock him down. I'm knocking him down around. I'm not getting him in any of my drafts, that kind of scares me. The talent is there, but the situation it's not good. Not good at all.
I'm seeing him taken very high in some mock drafts. Like, people are going into the 3rd round and grabbing him with the 3rd pick. I mean, that's just kind of wild to me. But hopefully they slow the brakes. Number 4 on the depth chart, people. Slow down. Another piece of news, which there was a lot of cool memes that come out this week about Jay Cutler, but he signed with the Dolphins. What do you think about that?
So, one, it's hilarious. Obviously, he and Adam Gase, they were together in Chicago for Jay Cutler's last somewhat decent year. He's not a fantasy viable option whatsoever. I do not have him in my top 20 quarterbacks. But what it means for the other players, it's not really that big of a deal. Tannehill's not really a great quarterback. He's never been successful. But Jay Cutler takes more gambles. And so what I've done in my rankings, and it's very slight moves, but I'm moving Jarvis Landry down a little bit. And I'm bumping Parker and Stills up just a tad bit. So that's kind of what's going to do. I will say this, it's going to be a lot harder to load the box. Not that people were doing that in Miami, but Cutler will sling it. I mean, he's got an arm. And, you know, he's got an arm and he smokes lots of cigarettes. So
yeah,
take that for whatever that's worth.
The other thing is he has a really high tight end usage. So Julius, he goes up a little bit.
Man, I'll say this, you know, that's well said. And Gase has always been really, really big on that. All the cards are in play for Julius to pan out. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's there. It should happen.
And
if you wait on tight end, grab him.
Yeah, and to your point, though, you can't load the box. I mean, you could say what you want about Jay Cutler. The guy can sling it. And like you said, too, another guy who I'm in agreement with you on, I think Kenny Stills benefits because he likes to go deep and Jay likes to go deep. As long as they're friends, because if they're not friends, Jay Cutler won't throw to you.
He'll get you off the team.
That's right. It's just a bunch of fun to see Jay Cutler there and then also say, I don't really need to be in, tip-top shape or anything like that.
He said, because I'm a quarterback, I don't have to be in good shape. Like, that is a thing that he has said. And it's just like, he's just trolling everybody, just like, who gives a shit, man? I got a hot wife. I've got a lot of money. I'm playing. I don't care. It's $10 million. And what's crazy is he can make up to $13 million this year. A while ago, I wanted to chime in. You talked about Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills had more touchdowns last year than Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker combined.
Mm.
And that could go up. Like, he could legitimately be a 10-touchdown player, but I don't think he's going to get the receptions or the yards to be like a top 2 wide receiver. When I say top 2, top 24. But yeah, he's a play, and you can get him late. He's going super, super late.
Yeah, never been a real believer in him, but I could be eating my words.
Hey.
Martavis Bryant. This guy's kind of reinstated. I've heard that he's allowed to practice, or what's going on?
So this is ridiculous, and this is, you and I, we've gone to the draft before, and every single damn time Roger Goodell comes outside, everybody boos him. And I'm not one of the guys that boo him. I'm just like, man, what's the big deal? Like, come on, yeah. I get it, whatever. But it's when he does stuff like this and screws people over that it kind of makes me want to say, come on, man, you're kind of being a D-bag here. Yeah. Because the guy has done his suspension. He smoked weed, which take that for whatever it's worth.
Whatever.
He's done everything right. Give the guy a chance. Why do you have to lead him on like this?
Yeah, it's terrible. He's going to miss that time, and because of that, maybe some other receivers are going to get there, like Juju Schuster, who there was already a little bit of beef on draft day.
That was awesome. Yeah. But the thing is now Martavis Bryant can practice and play in preseason games, but he has not been fully reinstated for regular season matches, which probably is going to happen. It seems like the idea behind the NFL front office is, well, let's string them out and see if they're going to overreact. So let's give him bad news and see if he goes out and smokes weed. Let's test him one more time, then we'll reinstate him. And so they just go slow with all this, and it's bad. But I'll tell you this right now. If and when, because I think Martavis Bryant's going to be reinstated before the season starts, he is going as wide receiver 22. Okay, so he's already a number 2 wide receiver. And he's going to put up crazy touchdowns. But what's more important than him is what happens with Big Ben. If you prorate out all of the games that Big Ben and Martavis Bryant have played together for 16 games for a full fantasy season, or for Big Ben has over 5,300 yards.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he's healthy and he stays off the weed.
And Big Ben stays healthy.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good one too.
So another guy who a little bit suspicious, has a very high ceiling if things can work out. Mike Gillislee has missed 7 straight practices. Should we be alarmed?
That is unreal. 7 straight practices. And his ADP continues to go up. It's not even going down. It's not being affected. People see New England, and everybody wants a part of it. I get it. Their offense is absolutely insane. But you should be alarmed. You definitely should be alarmed. He's not a person that I'm going to target in a lot of my drafts, because what I'm hoping for is just that he does really bad the first couple of weeks. And whenever I say bad, it's just because of playing time. I believe if he gets the opportunity, he's going to be successful. But if Rex Burkhead gets the opportunity as the goal line back, he also is going to be successful. So he's not a guy I'm getting in drafts. He's going as the number, sorry, I got it right here. He's going as running back 19. He's going ahead of Carlos Hyde, Dalvin Cook.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not taking him. Hey, there's a reason why I'm not getting him.
And does that add more value to James White? I mean, could James White be that feature back?
Well, the depth chart came out today, and the co-starters for running back were none other than your old boy, Dion Lewis, and James White were listed as co-starters at running back. So you never, and this is the knock on the Patriots. It has nothing to do with the situation. It's Bill Belichick will screw your fantasy team over. That's just what he does. And as soon as you think he's going to do something, nope. If you remember, James White had like 180 yards rushing in one game and then didn't get one carry the next game. How do you understand that? It doesn't even make sense.
Right. That's how Belichick does. It's risk reward. If you were risky enough to take Blunt, it paid off for you. Guy had 18 touchdowns. He's not going to do that this year.
No, he's not. But I still like Blunt, though. He's going to get some playing time. And he was listed as the starter on the Eagles' initial depth chart. He's going to get all the goal line work. The funniest thing about that is they still had Ryan Matthews listed on the depth chart. They just put brackets around his name at the very bottom.
Yikes.
He's gone.
I heard he's working out, though. They're like saying, oh, he's working out very hard, though, outside the team practices.
Well, so they get a save. I think it's like $1.2 million if they wait to cut him at the last cut. So it's coming, and it's going to help their salary cap out. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah. A guy who I have always coveted for the Eagles, never came, always wanted him to show up. He's one of my favorite receivers of all time, Anquan Bolden, signs with the Bills, and I think it's a big deal.
Big time. And not so much for Anquan Bolden.
Right.
I'm not drafting him. He did put up 8 touchdowns last year. I think that he could get 4 to 6 this year, but he's not somebody really that you're going to want. But what he does, one, he hurts Zay Jones, which is sad because I'm on the Zay Jones hype train. I love Zay Jones, and who I compared to Anquan Bolden in my draft profile. And I said, he's a much faster Anquan Bolden. He's not as big, but he plays very, very physical and great hands and great routes. But I digress. What Bolden does, he's one of the greatest run-blocking wide receivers in the history of the NFL. He brings his physicality, which is huge for Shady McCoy.
Right.
This will help him get more lanes, deeper runs, like longer runs, like that's what he needs.
Right.
So this is huge. It helps Tyrod Taylor as well because I think they can throw now to a reliable kind of big post-up tight end type guy in the end zone. So it helps out Shady and it helps out Tyrod.
I mean, you could kind of imagine having Zay and Anquan split out right, Watkins out to the left, and McCoy in the backfield, and then the defense has to worry about that sweep or that run to the right side, and then you've got to make sure to pay attention to Sammy Watkins. And then you've got a dual-threat quarterback, which works out perfectly for McCoy because that's what he's always rushed very well when he's had a dual-threat quarterback because you got to pay attention to the backside. So all of it's coming together for the Bills. Will they be able to take out the Patriots? No, but they're a good team.
No, they're not taking out the Patriots. The Patriots are golden.
They're golden.
I hate to say that.
Another guy who you were geeking out before the draft, Kareem Hunt. John would send me text messages or call and be like, you got to check this guy out. His first team reps are increasing.
Dude, and this is what's crazy. So he was getting first team reps pretty early, and he's getting more and more and more as training camp and the preseason goes on. And this guy, he is just the definition of an Andy Reid back. And so if you go back to the Bryant Westbrook, he's much closer to Westbrook than he is Jamal Charles. He doesn't have that lightning speed, but he just does every single thing very well, and he never turns the ball over. The kid has not fumbled once in high school or college, which doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's very reliable, and he's a great pass protector. So you got to keep Alex Smith safe, man, because he's just so valuable.
Absolutely. I'm gonna get into some Eagles drama here. So if you're not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, you don't know that it's
congratulations. First off, if you're not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, congratulations.
You've won at life.
You're making good choices.
But you don't know that they actually have a fantastic preseason coverage, live training camp coverage, which actually they got in trouble for because there were some reports that other teams were using their live film to, basically give away their plays, their formation, their language. So dumb, but also very entertaining. But that crew is still there, and you can go and watch, it's like they've got episodes. But one of the battles that's kind of going on internally is this Nelson Aguilar versus Jordan Matthews thing. So Nelson Aguilar had a horrendous season. I can't even – I want to compare it to Todd Pinkston, but I don't know. It's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. And he would just drop balls in the end zone. He would run wrong routes. It was terrible. But he's had his spring camp, and now – when people are lined up on him, he's not dropping balls. He's making consistent acrobatic catches all over the field. He's looked insane. But it's preseason. It's training camp. Who knows? So then a lot of people are like, oh, he should be the slot receiver. And legitimately, it started some buzz, even among Daniel Jeremiah for NFL
Yeah,
Network,
I did see that.
where Jordan Matthews fired back at him because Daniel Jeremiah said Nelson's got the edge basically on Jordan Matthews. And Jordan Matthews said, well, his mock drafts are always wrong, so what does he know? And then NFL Network threw a shot back at Jordan Matthews and said, actually, he's one of the more accurate mock drafters that there is, which I actually find hard to believe. But
I love DJ, though, man. I'm going to be really honest with you. DJ is awesome.
Yeah, he's great. But what do you think, man? Can Nelson be rebirthed?
Okay, so I'll say this. I think the Eagles are historically known, especially recently, for having some of the worst wide receivers in the NFL. Let's just put some numbers to this, okay? Nelson Aguilar, I didn't even prepare for this, but click away. He was ranked as the 115th wide receiver by Pro Football Focus.
Wow.
That means there's 114 better. I don't know if you figured that out.
Yeah, that's
114. Nelson Aguilar is the new Riley Cooper. That's what you guys do, man. He has all the talent in the world. One, you don't draft USC wide receivers. Let me just say that. That should be a rule.
Oh, and we've done that a lot. We've done that. Ugh.
How's that worked for you? How's that worked?
Not good.
Exactly. No, Nelson Aguilar is not a commodity in the NFL. I think he'll be done here in a couple of years. I don't mind if he stays on the roster. I get it. But he should nowhere near be competing with Jordan Matthews. They're not even the same ballpark.
I agree. I don't love Jordan Matthews in the slot all the time, though. I think he's very consistent. I don't love his breakaway speed, though. He gets caught pretty often. I think he's a very solid number 3 wide receiver. So I understand when people have the temptation to say, we want a Cole Beasley. Like, you take a look at what the Cowboys have in that slot receiver, and that dude is everything you want. He touches the ball on that cross, and he's going 15 yards every time. Right. So Julian Edelman, you want somebody who can do that. And Jordan Matthews, on the other hand, he can do those things, but it's just slower, and he doesn't get as much yards. So I get it.
I feel you there. I just know fantasy, absolutely not. NFL, absolutely not, actually. So, yeah, it just knows for me.
So it doesn't mess with Jordan Matthews' ADP? No. Okay.
One, I don't know why you're taking Jordan Matthews as high as anybody is. His ADP is way too high right now.
Right, I agree.
Way too high right now.
I don't want him. I mean, why? What's he going to do? He's competing with a million people. Sproles, Ertz, Alshon, Torrey Smith. It doesn't make sense.
So he's going – now, I'll say this. It's back down a lot. He's dropped a full round in the past week. So he's going as the number 51 wide receiver right now. But here's, again, these are the people going behind him. Mike Wallace, oh my gosh. Richard Matthews, yeah, take him. Zay Jones, 100%. Ted Ginn Jr., 100% take him. By the way, Ted Ginn Jr. opened up as a starter on the depth chart ahead of Willie Snead. Who saw that one coming? I did not see that coming. So
I got to give credit to actually my brother called that. He said that he saw Ted Ginn being really productive, and maybe that's a really good steal for the Saints.
It really is. Basically, he's Brandon Cooks, but way cheaper. Now he can't run the routes, but he's still got that top end speed, and he can catch the deep ball. He's done it everywhere he's gone. Yep. So it's not a bad move. I would
really special. He's really special at home too. Every time he went home for the Panthers, he showed out. Every time he went away, he was a non-starter. Yeah. So it's interesting. Here's something else that's interesting. As we have this preseason game going on, first of all, Deshaun Watson looking good, folks.
Man, I'm a huge believer in the talent. I really, really am. Now, do you draft him? No, he's not even listed as a starter right now, and he probably won't be. But if you're playing Superflex or a 2 QB league, man, you got to get him early. So I am picking number 5 in my Dynasty Superflex league, and if a certain running back is not there, I think I'm taking Deshaun there.
I love how coded you were, just in case any of your Dynasty guys are watching.
Those a-holes, they're listening. They're listening. And a lot of that has to do with roster construction, right? So, I'm loaded at receiver, so I don't need Corey Davis. Probably wouldn't take Mike Williams now anyway. But, again, I've already talked about how I'm not a big Joe Mixon guy, so I'm not taking him. and I'm not the biggest believer in Minnesota's offensive line. So I'm docking Dalvin Cook a little bit there. So, I mean, you can fill out the blanks. I love Christian McCaffrey. Tonight was his very first game, and he looked pretty solid, man. He didn't look amazing, no big plays, but I love Christian McCaffrey, especially if you're in a PPR. You're in a PPR, I don't know why he would not be your number one running back in rookie dynasty drafts. It makes zero sense to me.
So Deshaun looking awesome and somebody who I think is eventually going to take that job, except for there's a very important person on that team who doesn't believe so.
This was shocking.
Yeah, he went on record and said, Tom Savage is our guy. There shouldn't be any more questions. Whoa.
And I'll say this. Here's what you do. Let's say I'm Tom Savage, okay? Here's what I do. I go up to Hopkins, Nook, and I say, hey, dude, I'm going to throw you the ball every damn play. Will you just give me some pub on Twitter? And it sounds like that's what happened behind the scenes. And if I'm Bill O'Brien, the offensive coordinator / head coach, I'm sitting there thinking, man, this guy's my franchise player. Let's roll with it. Now, I'll tell you this. If they drop to a losing record, he's going to be pulled right away. So the job is going to be Tom Savage. He's going to start week 1. I guarantee that. But if they lose week 1, it's going to get kind of shaky. If they lose week 2, it's over. I promise you that. So it's going to be a short leash.
Especially if you see that defense really holding people down and you're like, okay, all you got to do is score a touchdown or 2 and we should have this game, and Tom Savage can't produce. Absolutely. Foreman looked really well. He looked good tonight too.
He did. Now, I will say this. I'm a Longhorn fan, so I've seen every single high school / college football game that Foreman has ever had in his entire life. He makes really bad choices off the field. Having said that, his running style scares the mess out of me, and he got laid out twice because when he goes through the hole, he's an upright runner, very similar to Adrian Peterson, but not as punishing or physical. He's big. Yeah, he's actually bigger than Adrian Peterson, but he's not that mean kind of upright runner. And, man, there were a couple just like kind of 1 or 2 yard gains where he just got depleted. And I'm just like, dude, you can't do that in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. I don't think a suspension's coming for the whole weed and a gun thing. I found the police report, and it seems like he's going to be all right.
Hey, real quick, too, 2 things. Maybe you should talk about a guy that the Niners just released, but then 2, what's the deal with Mike Williams? Now he's not done for the season? Maybe talk about those 2 things.
No, so just hear me say this. He's done for the season, okay? So he's got some back issues. Now what he started to do is jog / run today. So he's moving around. So what they're trying to do is they let the swelling in the back tissue and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm just telling you what I've read and heard. The swelling goes down, and with that, so does the pain. And then you want to see if it loosens up. Now, if it stays super tight, it's going to be done. And I guarantee you, based on the reports, the doctors are saying, dude, you need to have this surgery. We just need to be done with it. But there's not that big of a risk if he waits 4 weeks and has season-ending surgery, or if he has season-ending surgery now. He's going to be ready for next year regardless. So they're just trying to a Hail Mary. Is there anything we can salvage for this year? And I don't think it's going to happen. I think he is done. Buy Terrell Williams. Buy him right now.
Agree.
That guy.
And then some sad news.
Oh, man, the 49ers. We cut Jameis Winston, who we traded for from Baltimore. Camp, he was just getting destroyed up the middle nonstop. He couldn't hold his guys. So not that it necessarily hurts Carlos Hyde. You saw what he did last year. The 49ers had the 4th best rushing offense last year, which is crazy, even though they were probably the worst team in the NFL. But Carlos Hyde's number is going to go up, so it doesn't really affect anything. It's just kind of a bummer.
I have a surprise question for you.
Oh, I like surprises.
I know you do. So we're talking about Martavis Bryant earlier and talking about, Goodell just hating people.
Ugh.
Who does he hate more? Who does he hate more than Martavis Bryant? I'm going to say probably in his career, like guys who just put him in the spot, right? Like you got to say Mike Vick's got to be up there, like totally just took his legs from him. But who else does Goodell hate? I want you to name 2 people right now who he hates more than Martavis Bryant.
Okay, number 1 is Robert Kraft for the New England Patriots.
Okay.
It's absolutely genius why he hates them. So Goodell found out that they were spying on everybody, and they go into this room, and you go into Peter King wrote an awesome article about this about 5 or 6 years ago. And so they find out that the Patriots are fucking cheaters. And they go in and they look into the room and they see this giant room full of taped practices. And Goodell tells them, destroy all of this now and we will talk later. And so, like, Goodell gave him a break. And so they destroy all the film and all this stuff, and then they hand out the suspension, they take away the first draft pick, and all this stuff happens. And then Kraft goes back and says, well, what evidence do you have? Like Goodell was doing him a solid. And this is a big reason why the whole Deflategate thing blew up so big, was because there was so much behind the scenes going on. And Goodell's like, mother effer, I cut you a break to make the NFL look better. And Kraft was just like, I don't care. I don't know what tapes you're talking about. What tapes? And so he is number one for me. And I think number two is probably Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, gotta say it.
Breaks my heart. And I think a big reason why Kaepernick is not playing. Now, I don't want to go too
sure,
dark cloak room, cigar room, big leaders, whatever. I think there's a big reason that, the NFL is trying to keep this image and protect the shield, as he always says. And so I'd say Colin Kaepernick right now.
Yikes. That turned dark for a minute.
That's what we do. That's right, man.
That's true. I agree. So last night was premiered Hard Knocks, which is like my favorite show.
I flipped out. So I did not watch it live. I was waiting to take care of everything I needed to do and then watch it whenever I could focus in on HBO Go. And the HBO, they don't release it until the next morning on HBO Go. So I was a little upset, but that's okay.
Yeah, and the first thing that they did was they started out with the life of Jameis Winston. And as controversial as that guy is, it was a little bit, I think, eye-opening. No excuses for him and the choices he's made and the idiotic moves that he's made.
He's a Ray Lewis Award winner.
He is. He's got some crab legs that don't belong to him.
The greatest Twitter picture of all time was after he stole the crab legs. They superimposed the crab legs in place of the national championship trophy. So instead of holding up the national championship trophy, they put the crab legs there. And if you don't know what that means, this is after he won the Heisman. He snuck into a grocery store and stole $40 worth of crab legs. And just walked out.
I mean, why? I don't know. It's just awesome. But one of the things that I took away from Hard Knocks, a few things. One is that he's still not working on the mental part of being a quarterback, and that was really obvious. He told his coach asked him, something about down and distance, and he went off on a ramble about how he didn't really pay attention to down and distance. He's like, man, I go back and I look through film, and I didn't even realize it was 2nd and 7. And his coach is like, yeah, you're talking about practice, right? Not the real game. And then he backed up real quick, and he's like, oh, no, I know it during the game. And you're like, whoa, this is an NFL quarterback who's got all the talent in the world, and he's not paying attention to the down and distance.
I think he's trying to. And so this is the greatness and the sadness that is Jameis Winston. He's so authentic. He cannot lie. And he's not smart enough to lie. And that's just not who he is. He's just really stupid. And I don't mean that as necessarily an insult. It's just he's not intelligent. If you watch when he went and talked to the preschool or the kindergarten kids, and he's like, boys, stand up, flex your muscles. That's who we are. You're going to grow up and you're going to be men, and you need to be strong. And you need to be proud. You need to speak up. All right, girls, where y'all at? Your job's to be quiet and sit there.
No way.
That's what he said to elementary school kids. And the thing is, again, he's not trying to be terrible. He's just not smart. And so you have this super uber athlete that has such a cool personality, and he is just, man, he's awesome. But he is not intelligent.
Yeah. John has a special way of insulting somebody and complimenting them, and I've been at the brunt of it before, and you don't even know how to feel.
It's a spiritual blessing. It's kind of it's what I bring to the world, is that I want to build you up and then bring you down at the same time. And it's just, it's
like he's awesome, but he's a stupid human being. You know what I'm saying? Anyways.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I realize about this team is that I do think that they're on the upswing, though. So they were a 9-7 team last year, and they add Deshaun Jackson, who looks like a beast in camp. And then you look at Mike Evans across the way, and what are you going to do as a defense with
You haven't even brought up O.J. Howard either.
Yeah. You got O.J. Howard there. But what are you going to do? You don't got to do anything. You got to let Jameis throw picks, and that's what he's going to do. That's how they're going to end their seasons, why they're going to fall apart. It's obvious from the beginning.
Yeah,
but anyway, go ahead.
If you haven't watched it, you got to go watch it. It's some of the best television out. Whether you're a Bucs fan or not, like, it's just good TV.
So one of the things that John sort of received some feedback about via Twitter, via conversations, is that people want to know a little bit more about how the format of my league impacts value. I'm in a 10-man league. I'm in a 12-man league. So, John, just take us a little bit through some of those nuances.
Right. So everybody does rankings, and I put my rankings out there on Twitter, and we talk about them here. And those rankings are great, but it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have to know what your league is. And so we're going to go super quick through a handful of types of leagues, different formats and scoring, and how that affects your rankings and positions, who to move up, who to move down, okay? So the most common league out there is kind of a 12-team half-point PPR, and that's what my rankings are designed for, okay? That's kind of what I go through. And PPR is point per reception. So for every catch, you get a point. Half-point PPR, you get half of a point per reception. Now, if you're in a 10-team league, what you need to understand is depth is not important. The only thing that matters in 10-team leagues, because there's so many fantasy-relevant players, you have to go for nothing but studs. So every pick needs to be a home run, swing for the fences pick. Guys like, let's see here, Robert Woods, you just don't need that stuff. Now, the flip side of that is bigger leagues. So 14-team leagues, 16-team leagues, things like that, teams with lots of roster spots. Depth is everything. So getting studs early is great if you can do it, but what's way more important is having quality starters at every position, and that's kind of the hard part.
Yeah.
What are some other leagues that you are scoring? What about touchdown passes? What do you do, Charles, in like a 6-point touchdown versus a 4-point touchdown league?
I mean, obviously, you're going to, depending on the number, you're going to value a QB a little bit higher or a little bit lower.
And so I'll say this, like, let's say you're in a 6-point passing touchdown league. That doesn't make me value QBs more. It makes me value certain QBs more.
Yeah.
So all the quarterbacks are still getting the same points for touchdowns, but the guys that are natural passers, you're talking Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matt Stafford, the guys that just throw the ball a lot, they're moving up, and Cam Newton, Tyrod Taylor's moving down. And in 4-point leagues, it's exact opposite. The guys that get those rushing touchdowns are getting a little bit of a bump there. So it's kind of everything kind of takes its toll, and you just kind of measure that. And if your league does bonuses, so on and so forth, you just got to make sure. Let's say you do 100 yards rushing bonus. Well, you need to look into 100 yards rushing games. For example, most people don't understand this. Jordan Howard had the most 100-yard rushing games last year. So you got to give that guy a bump.
You mentioned Matt Stafford. Is there any format where he is more valuable?
Yeah, it's 6-point passing touchdowns, and if you do like a 400 passing game bonus because he throws the ball so much. Or I've even seen a couple unique leagues that do point per completion. That dude throws the ball over 600 times almost every single year, and so that's going to help him a lot.
I got a surprise question.
Yay.
In your humble opinion, John.
I'm not humble. Go ahead.
In your not humble opinion, what's the purest form of fantasy football?
Ooh, well said. 12-team, half point per reception, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex. The flex spots can be wide receiver, tight end, or running back, and I do not want a kicker.
Wow. I didn't know that about you.
I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it.
That's interesting. I learned something new about you.
Having said that, I love leagues with kickers because people draft them early and they are dumb and it pushes talent down to me. But I don't think that it's a very good fantasy indicator for preparation and stat driven and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think it is.
Deal with it, John. It's part of the game.
It's part of the game. Kickers are people too.
Is there any other notes on the formatting impacting value?
Yeah, 2 QB and Superflex leagues, which are so much fun. If you're not involved in one of these leagues, go check them out because it changes the way you see the game. And so you can start 2 quarterbacks on a team. So this makes the quarterback position very, very valuable. And so it doesn't change your top guys or how you rank out the quarterbacks. But what it does do is it makes quarterbacks 15 through 30 very, very important as well. So it creates a lot more depth there, and it changes up the strategy a lot. It's a lot of fun. So if you're not in one of those, go get those. And the last thing I'll say is if you're in a dynasty league, everybody chases youth. I'm very, very guilty of this as well. But your plan is to win this year, not 3 years down the road. Oh, man, my team's going to be unstoppable in 4 years. Nope, you don't even know if the league's going to be around. So win now. Now, you want to give it a slight upgrade to younger players, but you don't want to mortgage this season just so you'll be good later.
Good advice. Very good advice. Let's move on to my favorite part. Let's talk about a division. Today we're talking about the AFC West, and in my humble opinion, I'm not humble either, I think it's the first or second most competitive division in the NFL.
It is. They put out some unreal teams and great defenses besides the Raiders. Great defenses. I mean, they're pretty nuts.
Yeah, so I think we kind of differ. I think we know this about each other already in advance, but we differ on how this is going to go. So why don't let's start with you. Who do you got finishing dead last in this ultra competitive division?
So I say dead last, and it's the Chargers, and that makes me sad because they're probably one of my favorite teams in this division. I absolutely love Phillip Rivers. Like, somebody asked me, like, oh, if you could be any NFL player, like, who would you be? Number one, I'd say Gronk, just because I'm a douchebag, but I love the way he plays and his attitude. And number two, I'd say Phillip Rivers. I love that it's a quarterback out there talking trash, and he's so great. But they are screwed. They've already lost their first and second round draft pick this year. It's not going to go well.
I disagree. So
where do you got them at? What do you have to?
I got them at third, okay? And I'll talk about who I've got last. But first of all, this is going to be one of those divisions and one of those years where they're going to have better records than a loser, in another division. These are going to be competitive teams. But Melvin Gordon, you still have a pretty decent wide receiver core, even without Mike Williams. You got Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates. I'm a believer. You got Joey Bosa coming in and not missing, the first how many ever games, and he looked like a dominant force. I'm really excited to see this cat play.
He's a dark horse candidate for Defensive Player of the Year already, which is that's unreal. But the way he played last year, I mean, you don't want to use this a lot, but he affected the game as much as J.J. Watt did from a very similar position. He just wreaked havoc.
It's true. I couldn't believe what I was watching because I didn't know it was going to be like that right off the bat. He was eating up offensive linemen. They couldn't even put their hands on him at times.
It seemed easy for him. And I'll say this. I knocked him down my rankings for the NFL draft. I didn't think that he was going to pan out like he did, but I was wrong on him.
Oof. So I gave you my third, so let me back up. And we'll kind of go together, right? So
what do you have losing?
I got the Chiefs in dead last. And
my gosh. What?
Yeah. It's a surprise. It's a shocker. So here's the deal. I'm an Eagles fan. I know Andy Reid really well. Let me tell you something about Andy Reid. Number one, he'll never win you a Super Bowl. Number two, on average, he's going to win.
You can hear the resentment and anger. Like, you sound like the ex-middle school girlfriend that just won't let it go 10 years later. That is wonderful.
He didn't call me back any time the morning, but whatever. So he'll win you 10 to 12 games, okay, and not win you a Super Bowl. But also, every now and again, Andy Reid just has a piss-poor year. And I say Andy Reid like it's all him. But what he does is he keeps things so the same that the league catches on. And I think that this is a year that Alex Smith takes a step back. I think that this is a year where if your only focus is going to be Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, but you've got Alex Smith running point, I'm not loving it. And then the defense lost Poe. And I think that they just traded away a Pro Bowl linebacker. I'm not feeling them in this really competitive, because they've got to go against the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos twice. And I don't love the way that they're going to pan out in those situations. So Chiefs last, Chargers third. Who do you got third?
Third, I got the Broncos, which I feel like is a little off. The Broncos, I mean, they've been awesome for a while. Their defense is out of this world, but their quarterback play is awful. Did you hear today that they called to see if the Bengals wanted to trade A.J. McCarron?
Yep. And they're saying they denied it, but there's people from the Bengals who are saying, no, that happened.
And I'll tell you this, the Bengals, their front office can't lie. Again, they're kind of like the Jameis Winston of the NFL. That's just kind of who they are. So I'm 100% with them. I don't think they could lie if they wanted to.
So I'll go next. So I have the Chiefs, then Chargers, and then I've got the Broncos at number 2. I think that defense alone is just going to win them games. It's that kind of defense. It's dominant. The pass rush is there. The secondary is there. They're going to score on defense. And they got a guy named Demaryius Thomas who's not bad himself, and Emmanuel Sanders. And
I think Demaryius Thomas might have one of his best years if Paxton Lynch wins the job.
Really?
Yep.
So those were my 3. So who do you have at number 2?
Number 2, I got the Raiders. I absolutely love the Raiders, which is hard to say as a Niners fan. But, man, there's just so many guys on there that's kind of fun to root for besides Crabtree. That I see Crabtree as your Andy Reid. Like, that's how I feel towards him.
Huh.
What he did for the Niners or did not do. Hold out 10 games as a rookie. What a turd. Anyway, the Raiders had the 26th defense last year. Their offense is amazing. But outside of Khalil Mack and probably Mario Edwards Jr. on that defensive line, they are void of talent. And so I believe this is a defensive-driven league and a quarterback-driven league. And so I think they have half the equation. So,
and we are in disagreement, my friend.
And I'll say this. Last year was their first winning season in 15 years since they were in the Super Bowl. That's the last time they had a winning record.
I believe in Derek Carr.
Yeah.
I believe in one of the best offensive lines in the league. I believe in a resurgent Marshawn Lynch, a fantastic wide receiving core, and I think an improved defense. We'll see how that goes. I think that they will be serviceable, and I like them to take number 1. I like the Raiders' feel this year. It's the year before Vegas.
Yeah, it's 2 years.
2 years, sorry. Well, it works. You didn't have to say that. You didn't have to ruin my point.
I'm sorry, man. Well, I'll edit that part out if it helps.
No, we're live. We're live.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. It's in there, man. Sorry.
Did you say your number 1 already? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I didn't, but through the process of elimination, I got the fighting Alex Smiths, the Chiefs, man. I believe in it's just a complete team where all they do is don't lose. They have an amazing defense, an opportunistic defense that gets lots of turnovers, lots of sacks, and they are just solid everywhere offensively. Their quarterback, Alex Smith, I know more than most. He's not going to win you games, but he doesn't lose you games. They finished in the top 2 in the division the last 4 years in a row, and I believe in Andy Reid. I think he's one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. I really do.
He's pretty darn good. He's almost a Super Bowl kind of coach.
So I'll tell you this. No. I have the Chiefs first. You have the Chiefs last.
Yeah.
I think it's time to make another ridiculous, crazy John Charles bet.
Well, if you got him at first and I am at 4th, yes. Because I have them at, I think, maybe around going 8-8. That's where I think I have the Chiefs.
You got them going 8-8. So I'll say this. Well, I'll just go straight with your terms because I'm feeling pretty confident about this.
Okay.
Do you want me to give you stats to support what I'm about to say, or do you just want me to make it?
You ruined a lot tonight. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's say this. Okay, so you have them going at 8-8.
Yep.
So let's make 8-8 the Vegas line. So if they finish 8-8, we don't have a winner. So if they finish with 7-9 and below, you win the bet. If they finish at 9-7 and above, I win the bet.
Works. That works for me.
You're okay with this?
Absolutely.
So you're saying they will not get to 9 wins?
No, they will not get to 9 wins.
Okay, so here is I wanted to do this bet last time, so I'll throw this out to you. How about the loser gets their Facebook profile pic changed for a week?
Facebook or Twitter?
Oh, you like Facebook a lot.
Well, yeah,
okay.
Okay, I only have 14 Twitter followers.
Oh, the Barr family is growing strong these days. Okay, let's do Twitter. So how about this? Let the loser, the winner gets to change the Twitter profile pic and header, the description header, for a week.
Okay. That works for me and my 14 Twitter followers.
Oh man, they're gonna be. See, that's the thing. I don't even care if you had 2. I feel confident in this. So let me just tell you a couple things. In the 18 years that Andy Reid has been a head coach, guess how many times they have been 7-9 or lower?
Listen, that's fine. Go ahead with your stats. Say it. But I have Andy Reid intuition. It's better than any stat you could throw at me. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's happened 3 out of 18 times.
It's time. We're due. Do you know anything about Andy Reid and that mustache and his eating habits? I do.
I like his eating habits. I would love to sit down with the walrus at a buffet table and have a good time. Now, how many times in those 18 years has he gone over 9 wins? The answer is 13.
If there's any head coach that could be a serial killer, I think it would be Andy Reid.
Man. He's not sneaking up on anybody. He's got to be a loud mouth breather. And I know that's mean, but he is.
He looks like one of the characters from Monster Inc. University, the guy with the mustache. You know what I'm talking about? That's what he looks like.
I love Andy Reid, man. He's legit. He
is. He's maintained weight for camp every year, just that much.
Oh, jeez. He is the Eddie Lacy version of the NFL head coach.
I think that the universe skips a beat every time that him and Mike Holmgren see each other. Just they're twins. They look right at each other. They're like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in this reality.
We have gone totally off the rails, and we have probably lost everybody. But, hey, fat jokes and walrus jokes, this is wonderful. This is wonderful.
Okay, so we got our bet. We know I've got the Raiders taking number 1. You've got the Chiefs taking number 1. This has been episode 8. It's been fun.
It's been awesome, guys. Make sure to shout us out on Twitter. Let us know what you think. And if you want us to answer some of your stuff online. And happy drafting as it is getting strong. It's draft time, so enjoy it.
Ladies on the men, Jay.
Peace.